Afternoon, sir. It is my utmost pleasure to have you here with us, sir. We are really glad that you took out the time to discuss the issue of electors with us, sir. To begin with, sir, we would like to get to know you, sir.
My name is Biswanath and I have been here from 2015. Last 3 semesters, I have been offering 2 courses. My area of specialization is science technology studies. What essentially means that these are social studies of science and technology. So within which I offer 2 courses. One is called Science, Technology and Modernity. The other course is Humanistic Theory of Science and Technology. Now these 2 courses may sound similar, but they are not, they are distinct. So the first, should I go ahead and...
Yes, please enlighten us, sir. Please enlighten us.
So the first course is more on what you call humanistic theory, essentially to look at relationship between science and technology and society. So the course is structured on what you say 3 blocks. The first block looks at the questions such as the idea of scientific method, how has it evolved over the period. So it draws from the philosophy of science mainly, in which we discuss a lot of people including Descartes, Francis Bacon, other people such as the empiricist school, the rationalist school and so on.
That's great.
What we do essentially to understand the way the science and technology is privileged. What is the method which is seen as important to science and technology, science in particular.
Yes, sir.
In the second block, in which we look at more of the social nature of science and technology. For example, what are the issues concerning the norms of ethical issues of science?
Okay.
Why do frauds happen in science? What binds people of science together? What drives them? And so on and so forth. So these are set of questions we look more in detail in this second one. The third one, in which we look at the technology in more, in a deepened sense, in which we look at the idea of innovation as part of technology.
Nice.
We also look at philosophy of technology. We also look at what you call social constructedness of technology. Is technology is linear in terms of its development, or is it actually the society kind of sit back into its evolutionary form? These are the questions. But broadly, between these 3, some of the questions we ask is that, to what extent society saves science and technology. Often we see the science and technology are, product of society. No one disputes that.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
We see that science and technology are part which have evolved, but then we have drawn a boundary. We believe that science and technology have their own mechanism which takes it further, which makes the progress happen and so on. This particular course is trying to question that paradigm. It argues that is it true that there is a certain two-way process which society in many ways fit back into the science and technology and saves it in its own ways. So a lot of people have made their studies and so on. So one of the questions is about public understanding of science. Do public need to know science? And how much of science do they need to know? What are the questions about some of the controversial ones, for example, environmental debates, nuclear power, food technology, and so on. So who are the people who take sides? Why do they take these sides? How can this problem be resolved? And it goes in many directions. So this is the first course called Humanistic Theory of Science and Technology. The second one, which is called Science, Tech and Modernity.
Yes, sir.
That course is more historical. It tells you science and technology, the way it has evolved in different civilizations across the world.
Yes, sir.
So it puts the world history and within it the science and technology.
Okay.
Right?
Sounds really good.
Okay. So within that course, what we do in the first part, we look at some of the civilization, because as you know, the way in the history science has been shaped by the culture and the civilization. What we call the modern science had its early root in many of these where it was entangled with religion, culture and so on. So some of the civilizations look at the Sumerian civilization, the Greek, for example, the Arabian who came subsequently, Chinese also we look at. So these are, including the Indus, we look at separately in more detailed form. So these are the early civilizations, and we take this up to the level of what you call the Renaissance or what you call emergence within the Western world, which eventually led to called scientific revolution and subsequently industrial revolution. So in the second part, we look at it, particularly the scientific revolution and the industrial revolution which followed that. In the third one, we look at, as I just mentioned, we look more in detail as to the history of India. We are beginning with the what you call Vedic period, the Indus civilization to the Guptas, and right up to what you call the Mughal period, and then on up to the colonial period, the British period. So how has science and technology evolved over this period? Now, as it is, we cover in large history, so we don't go into detail in each of them. Instead, our emphasis is to touch upon the key developments, the key happenings in terms of science and technology in each of them.
Yes.
So this is the second one, and the third one, the fourth one. After having kind of laid the foundation to have understood the way science and technology have come about in the world history, including the Western world, now we come to the question about what is its relationship with the modernity, the idea of modernity, for example. Who are modern and who are not? In what ways are we modern, if at all we are? Is science and technology same as modernity? For example, is it fair to say that those who are modern have less belief in religion and faith? Are they somewhere connected? In what ways and so on? So some of these questions, the debates on modernity is in the last part, and that we do just to link up what we have done in the first three parts. To understand science and technology through these debates of what you call modernity.
That is indeed great, sir. It sounds really interesting to me, sir. It's a very tempting proposition to me too. But on a second thought, sir, if you had to choose a certain strata of students who you personally think can get the most out of this course, do you have any personal preference who want to pursue any field, or you think everybody has an equal
So
select?
from my experience here in the last few semesters, I believe there is no such preference. I mean, students can enroll in whichever year they feel comfortable about it, and there is no such requirement, that they must come at this particular age of semester and so on. It's entirely up to their how interested they are in these issues.
Absolutely, sir. And if I'm not wrong, all of these courses are offered in both the semesters?
Yes, as of now, the next semester these two courses will be offered.
Okay, sir.
And at least one of these courses will be offered in the semester next to that.
Okay, sounds good to me, sir. And lastly, sir, we would like to know what is your teaching philosophy and your methodology to reach out to
The
students.
methodology I follow is we combine the classroom lecture with video clips as often as we can. What these clips essentially do, clarify and elaborate concepts, some of the key concepts. So these are short clips, about few minutes maximum, is to combine with what we have been discussing in the class. It's more of what you call elaboration, because viewing is something which gives us better understanding, insight into what is being discussed otherwise. So that is one. We have one section called assignment, which students choose from number of topics that is given to them. Yes. And the idea is that instead of as coming from the teacher, it's essentially they choose who is the particular person they want to work on, and they submit an assignment. Okay. So typically, it is expected the students participate as much in the class, and they decide whom to write and work on for the assignment. And of course, classroom lectures are an important component of this.
So I'm assuming the electives are very open-ended. It is up to the students the way they can shape the way they want to learn there. That's really good.
Yes, at least the 15% assignment, which is part of the course,
yes, sir.
In which we give them, for example, in one of the course, humanistic theory, we give them about 10 different personalities, and a student can choose one of these 10 and write about it. And this is entirely, they collect some information, material, and depending on who they are interested. It could be Pythagoras for some, it could be Plato or René Descartes for another. Okay. And so at the end of it, instead of we saying that these are the people you work on, they have number of, or they can even come up with new names, which is not part of the list. Okay, and provided the person has some relevance to the course.
Amazing indeed. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us your precious time, sir. Really, sir, it was indeed a great
Thank you for all
experience.
the initiative you have. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir.